Hello and welcome into another Patriots Beat, Patriots Daily crossover. Almost crossover, no Mike Cadlick tonight. Alex Barth, Brian Hines, Taylor Kyles with you from Gillette Stadium, inside Gillette Stadium for this one because the Patriots just wrapped up their annual in-stadium practice here to cap off the second block and second week of training camp practices. So as we do on these crossovers, we like to come together at the end of the week. We do our individual shows during the week, come together at the end, kind of look big picture. But Brian, Taylor, I do want to talk about tonight because this was not your typical in-stadium practice. In past years, this has been purely a walkthrough. Tonight, fully padded. The clock was running. There was down and distance. There were situations being tested. There were points being kept, not touchdowns and field goals, but it was almost like the X Games where Stretch John Stryker was awarding points to the offense or defense depending on who won the rep and how much they won it by, totals from 1 to 4. The white team came out on top. I think they turned the scoreboard off. Was it 48-37?
47-38.
47-38.
So
almost
definitely
had
not
it.
a normal football score.
Definitely
there.
not. I don't know if that's
Scorigami,
that might be scorigami. I don't know. But Taylor, just your overall impressions from what was a unique night. Like, I've never covered a practice like that.
I'll say the biggest thing is that this defense has emphasized turnovers, flying to the ball, being around the football. That resulted, or largely contributed to 5 turnovers today, 2 for Robert Spillane, 2 for Jalen Hawkins, and it really was opportunistic, the kind of thing we haven't seen from Patriots defenses recently. And offensively, I felt Drake Maye up and down with the accuracy, and also some penalties that we've seen kind of plagued them throughout training camp really were issues today and kind of were magnified and contributed to those turnovers as well.
Brian.
I mean, we made it through 8 practices with Drake Maye. Then Tom Kern had to curse him and say, you don't talk about your interceptionless streak. And then he throws 2 today, 1 kind of in the hands of Stephon Diggs that Kobe Minor tipped up. And then 1 to end the last play of practice, 2-minute drill. Alex Austin jumps past to Kyle Williams. Then another turnover, which was very noteworthy, I thought, Ramondre Stevenson. Right, 7 fumbles last year, gets the ball punched out behind him, so not a good
in a
start,
non-tackling practice.
especially. So
it was the one thing we were saying before the game, like, this is the only thing that cannot happen tonight.
And there you go.
And then the other interceptions were thrown by Ben Woldridge and Pop Douglas on a trick play, both to Jalen Hawkins. Each team, Vrabel said before practice, because they were split up, and it wasn't in the past, it's been starters versus backups. This was an even split. It was Zach Kerr and Josh McDaniels coaching one team, Terrell Williams and Thomas Brown, right, coaching the other. And
draft.
I think McDaniels' team used both their trick plays. I think the white team only used the one. I understand why they maybe didn't use the second, because Pop Douglas threw the interception. But no, I think it was a sloppy night for both offenses. Taylor, you alluded to some of it. I mean, that second pick from Drake Maye, that's everything that's kind of questioned about him coming off last year. That was because of the way they're scoring it. There were stakes. Players were invested. I think it was Spillane or Brendan Schooler said after practice that there was some sort of prize for the winning team.
Yeah,
so there was something on the line here. And, down 9 sounds like a 2-score game. Again, because of the way they were scoring it, it really wasn't. And so Drake Maye gets a 3rd and 1 with the clock running, 1:14 left, tries to go in the flat quick to Kyle Williams on a hitch, gets picked, would be a pick 6. We saw him at times last year, and we've seen this team even before Drake Maye. Those late game situations have been tough. You saw the interception there. Ramondre Stevenson fumbling in a non-tackle practice. A couple of penalties, which I think you alluded to, Taylor. So especially for not too much sloppiness from the defense that I noticed. But from the offense, Brian, I guess we'll go to you. How much stock do you put in a night like tonight where this is as real as it's felt, and some of those issues that we felt like maybe they'd done a better job of corralling at the start of camp came out tonight?
I would say, looking at Drake, you look at his receivers he worked with tonight, the top 4, really top 3, was Steph Diggs, Kyle Williams, Efton Chisholm. Yep. Kendrick Bourne was the 4th in that group, and then he got hurt and left early. Outside of Diggs, he hasn't worked much with those top 2. With
he's
Chisholm,
worked a decent amount with
Williams.
Williams.
Kyle Williams, not much with Chisholm. So I think you saw some of those chemistry issues, and separation was hard to come by a lot of the night. Outside of Diggs, he had 4 targets, another touch on a handoff, so he was active. He looked good outside of the play that ended in an interception. But I do wonder, you're not working with the quote-unquote starters, right? If there were some chemistry issues that maybe kind of alluded to some of that sloppiness.
I'll add to your point. Chisholm had a bad drop. It was not the last drive. The second last drive, they were working on starting on a short field. I think it was the 3rd down, right? Or was it lead? It was the 3rd down?
Third
and
he actually
5.
got open, which was one
right. He gets wide open on the drag. This was Chisholm, and just right off the hands. Lan Larison had a bad drop, too. That led to one of those Jalen Hawkins interceptions. That one was from Josh Dobbs. That wasn't from Drake Maye. Or no, that's from Woldridge. Sorry, that was from Woldridge.
Yeah.
So
and that May drive with the Chisholm,
Yeah.
there were 4 or 5 plays that was just jailbreak pressure, and he had to kind of throw it
Yeah,
away,
that was one.
throw it in the dirt. So that was really his one real sloppy drive that whole
right,
game.
Will Campbell got beat pretty badly on that drive once. Jared Wilson got beat pretty badly on that drive once. So Taylor, not just the turnovers, but like the drops, some offensive line breakdowns. You know, going into the real test next week, joint practice, then preseason game with the Commanders. How much weight does tonight hold?
I don't think it holds a ton. I think there were correctable mistakes. The one really concerning thing for me is more Drake May's accuracy, because we've seen he sailed some passes.
Yeah.
Today, the Stephon Diggs one was behind Diggs, and that contributed to it getting punched out. Who was it that punched it out? Oh, it was
Crossley, right?
Crossley punched it out. That was the punch out for Ramondre Stevenson, I think.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Kobe Minor.
Yeah, Kobe Minor. Great play by Kobe Minor, Mr. Irrelevant, to punch it out, gets bobbled up, and Robert Spillane ends up recovering. I will say the pick six, I wouldn't put as much on Drake May because it was a hitch. You got to get the ball out quickly. I thought it was great situational awareness from Alex Austin.
It's a nice play by Austin.
Because it came from it was a 2-minute drive. The first one was a quick dump to the flat to Ramondre Stevenson. The second one was a check down. I feel like Alex Austin was like, all right, I don't even know if these guys are going to have time to really go deep. I'm going to take a chance. And not only did he pick it off, but he actually slid to what we think would have been to run out the clock.
Go down, kill the clock. Yeah, with the lead.
That was a pretty nice heads-up play, which I did like. So I want to see more consistent accuracy from Drake May. But I will say the Ramondre Stevenson fumble really was the biggest disappointment for me, because we were literally watching these defenders practice their punch-outs in warm-ups. We saw in the last practice they had on a tackling dummy. They're practicing punching the ball out on those dummies. So again, I love the emphasis that we've seen from this defense on creating turnovers, an issue they've had for the past couple of seasons. But if Ramondre wants to be this bell cow back, and I think he has to be, because as much as we like Travion Henderson, he's not really that bell cow.
He's a spell back.
Right, even if he can't handle a pretty heavy workload. So got to see better protection from Ramondre. But then we had like the Pop Douglas. It was a trick play where he gets picked off in the Land Larison bobble. Jalen Hawkins opportunistic on both plays, but I wasn't as concerned about those. But again, the penalties and the inaccuracy from Drake May are the two things that stood out the most for me that need to get cleaned up.
So before we move on to the week as a whole, just to put a bow on it, because that is a lot of negatives, you know, some that stood out to you, and we'll call it this. So we've been doing Plugger of the Day. This is going to be a special Plugger of the Day because it's also the in-stadium Quinn Nordine Award MVP, right, who, if you remember, went 10 for 10 at an in-stadium practice in 2021. I was talking to Chris Price about it. That was the first event here with fans after the pandemic. So even it just being like a couple thousand people and knowing the storyline with Nordine, like it was, the roof came off this place that night. But anyway, you're Quinn Nordine in-stadium practice MVP and Plugger of the Day, Brian.
I'll give it to Robert Spillane.
Right.
You know, been right in the middle of the defense, wearing the green dot all summer and around the ball for 2 turnovers. He said after practice, that's what he loves to do, right? Be around the football. It's so important for that position and for his game. So he was there for the interception, recovers a fumble. I'll give it to Robert Spillane.
I think I'm going to give it to Kayshon Boutte, honestly. He had a couple of nice grabs. There was one aggressive throw from Joshua Dobbs. The defense was in cover 2. Had a very small window to fit it between the safety and the corner. Got it there. Marcellus I was contesting, and it was a great catch from Kayshon Boutte while he was trying to get the ball popped out. He also had a catch on a dig during a 2-minute drive that set up a field goal. So I was pretty impressed. Kayshon Boutte was a guy that coming into the summer, I wasn't too high on, because you want to see Kyle Williams obviously take over that X role. And with Kayshon Boutte, kind of the story with him has been the inconsistency, where he'll make a really nice play, but then it feels like, whether due to effort or just kind of a mental fart, he'll have a mistake. This has been easily his most consistent summer, and I thought he built on that tonight.
Brian, make sure you write these down, or one of us writes these down, because I got to put them on my list at home.
Add to the tally.
It's the Quinn Nordine Award. Bryce Baringer went 3 for 3, hit from 42, he hit from 53. Did I get those numbers right, or did I flip them? Was it?
You said Bryce Baringer.
Bryce, wow. It's late. It's been a long night.
As one of our
lights dies. That's about right. Andre Borregales, right? It was 42 and 53 or 43 and 52?
42 and 53 and an extra point.
And he had hit the 42-yarder twice because they tried to ice him.
Twice, yeah.
So you got to give it. Somebody's got to give it to the kicker for the in-stadium practice. Andres Borregales gets it for me. Not quite Quinn Nordine. I don't know that anybody was Quinn Nordine tonight, but lived up to it well. All right.
Parker, and just in that competition, Parker Romo
hit all 3 of his 33, 2 extra points. He got iced. Yeah. Zach Kerr iced him late into practice.
This is the best kicker battle that I've seen since I've been on the beat.
Last year's pretty good.
Best case scenario so far, I would say.
All right. Week as a whole, first week of padded practices in the books. Brian, your big takeaway from the week?
Still have some question marks about the offensive line, right? We saw Oh, thank you. The ups and downs from Will Campbell is a rookie. You expect it, but it's what you saw in the LSU tape that I think is worrisome. And you hope, the inside move we've talked so much about, in bad losses too. You saw it good in the run blocking, but you hope that throughout the summer, more coaching, more reps, just more experience, they can kind of coach that out of them. But then a rookie next to him, it seems like they're going double rookie on the left side with Jared Wilson, who's center like Garrett Bradbury. Does he come back? Or is it Ben Brown? So, and then Morgan Moses still on the right side, in and out, more confident, obviously, in Micah and Morgan Moses. But I think that this point of the summer, still some question marks with that top offensive line.
I will say just the defense has been really impressive, and I'm excited to see them in the regular season. The defensive line has been consistently impactful throughout this week of practice. That showed up today. There were a couple of plays where the entire offensive line kind of caved in and resulted in either quick pressure or just completely blown up plays. And then again, I feel like we've also seen consistently the defense flying around. Like, we don't see a lot of blown coverages. Maybe there's a couple more this week than we've seen consistently, but this is a sound defense, a veteran defense, and even the young guys that have had to step up have been able to make some plays as well. So it's going to be a defensive-led team, and after today's practice or in stadium scrimmage, whatever, I'm not too upset about that.
I'm going to push back a little bit on that with my point. The Caleb on Chase-on thing's fascinating to me. And by the way, he left early tonight. A couple got him, Bourne, Caden Wallace all left early. Will Campbell got a little banged up too, but he said he was fine after practice. He looked fine. But the Caleb on Chase-on thing's fascinating. You see Christian Barmore and Milton Williams building up. What I miss?
They just didn't
on me the whole time.
Oh, okay. All right, we're almost out of here.
Pay attention back there.
Where was I? Chase-on's been fascinating. Milton Williams and Christian Barmore clearly have some chemistry. Keon White looks like he is fitting into this defense as a pass rusher the way we thought. I like the secondary when guys are healthy. Obviously, they're banged up. I'm like on the line between I'm worried about the run defense versus they might be really good running the football. They might be like a plus run team. You mentioned the ups and downs of Will Campbell. It was all ups in the run game. Same for Jared Wilson. They were caving guys in on the left side, and we know that right side, assuming everybody's healthy, is going to be able to block the run with Micah Onwenu and Morgan Moses. So joint practices is going to be a good tell for that. Something somewhere, there's going to be a strong take about the run game. And it could be both. It could be both. They could struggle to stop the run and be good at running it. And it's a movable force against a stoppable object. Right?
Unstoppable force against an immovable
object. Well, no, it's the opposite. Or it would be an unstoppable,
force and an immovable object.
But if it's the good run if it's a good run game and a bad run defense, it's a movable force against an unstoppable object.
This is what you come for, people.
See what I'm saying? So
analysis.
Yeah, if that's football for you, X's and O's. So we'll see which way that goes, but the ground game, there's so much focus on the pass game, and I understand why. The ground game element to me with this team is fascinating.
Also got to shout out the linebackers. It feels like every single day, whether it's Jack Gibbons, Christian Ellis, Robert Spillane, if there's a run or a screen, those guys get downhill so fast, and a lot of the time the play doesn't even have a chance to develop, and they're already in a gap or right in a running back's face. So to your point about that run defense, I definitely would like to see exactly how it works out in the front. Maybe we see more Kairos Tonga than Milton Williams on early downs to try to compensate, but that's second level. Like, they can hit and they can fly.
But that'll be interesting because you pay Milton Williams what you paid him, and then he's going to become a rotational player. Like, look, I'd rather do that. I'd rather they do that and just kind of admit the contract isn't what it is versus, well, we're paying this guy his money, so we got to throw him out there, right? Absolutely. At the end of the day, he's on the team. You got to do what's best to win games, but also, be a little bit of a knock on the first big signing for this this group.
But also, if he comes away and leads defensive tackles and sacks,
then fine.
Just one other thing I'm officially, I don't want to say worried, but just noticing injuries.
Yes.
It's been every day in practice. I feel like 2 or 3 guys leave with injuries. We were down, Mike Vrabel spoke before practice today and gave a laundry list of players that weren't participating today. And, there were so many names we couldn't even keep track to tweet all of them out. We had to go back and listen to it. And then out there at practice today, Caden Wallace leaves early in the blue medical tent. Kayvon Chase-on, who has been the star, one of the stars of the summer, leaves early. Kendrick Bourne limps off the field. Will Campbell got rolled up on. He said he was good after practice. But these injuries are really starting to pile up.
All right, let's hear from our friends at PrizePicks, then we'll be back with more.
Is powered by PrizePicks, the best place to get in on the action, even throughout the summer. There is still baseball, there's women's basketball, and Taylor, we are right on the cusp of football season. There will be preseason games loaded up on PrizePicks, so if you want to get in on the action, head over to PrizePicks. Use code CLNS. You get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game.
All right, Taylor, you get to go first as we come back because Brian's still got to pick his mic up here. We talked about the injuries going into that break. Coming out of it, they did get a couple guys back, in particular with the wide receiver position. Jalen Polk was back on Monday for that first padded practice. Mac Hollins came back Thursday for the walkthrough, then was out today. But that one day he was out there, he was very involved right away with the top offense, displacing a couple guys to that second unit. Just your big take on those two being back and where they fit in this wide receiver competition.
I don't have a huge take on Jalen Polk. I feel like we haven't seen a ton from him. Like, he's had a couple underneath
targets. He had a touchdown
targets.
that first day. That was it.
He had the touchdown where he was wide open. It was just like a score against the Bears. Today he did draw DPI, but DJ James seemed to kind of panic and the ball was underthrown. It was a whole thing. So Jalen Polk seems like they want him involved more in that slot receiver Z role that it feels like he's better in. So I'd like maybe next week to see a little bit more from him. But Mac Hollins looks like he's going to be an ultra utility player for this Josh McDaniels offense. When they warmed up yesterday, he started Mac Hollins at the X spot over Kayshon Boutte. Then when they got into some more serious drills, it was Kayshon Boutte back at X. We saw Mac Hollins at Z in some formations. We saw him in the slot. And we haven't really seen players move around all that much. Boutte actually today did play some Z with Javon Baker outside. So I'm excited to see how exactly they end up using Mac Hollins because we know he's a great blocker. But looking at his tape with the Raiders, he also had some really good intermediate routes and catches where he just shakes guys on dig routes. So I'm excited to see what Mac Hollins can do, but still TBD on Jalen Polk.
Brian.
I think there's a pretty clear top five right now, right? Mac Hollins, Kayshon Boutte, Demario Douglas, Kyle Williams, and then Diggs, of course. And it feels like, are they going to keep a sixth receiver? And then if they do, who is that between? And I feel like it's probably Polk and Efton Chisholm right now because Kendrick Bourne feels like he's really kind of fallen behind the pack. You know, he hasn't, before tonight, he hasn't caught a pass from Drake Maye in competitive teamwork through 8 practices. And now he gets hurt. And I think the contract is also an important thing to note in that equation, right? You save over $6 million this year, $6.5 million next year. And I know they don't need the money this year, but they're actually, you know, under the cap next year. And over the cap, and it'll roll over, but you know, you free up 6 and then 6, you get the rollover to 12. So I think that's an interesting, you know, thing that could factor into this wide receiver room.
Yeah, Bourne does seem like he's fading. Mac Hollins is an interesting one. Taylor, to your point, like he's going to be a versatile piece for them, kind of like a super backup.
Yeah.
Right, where he can plug in anywhere. I don't think he's displacing Kayshon Boutte at the X. Like maybe out of a snap or two here or there.
Kind of like the Kyle Williams thing.
I do hope Kyle Williams still gets the preference over him, though. Yeah. Like he needs to play. He needs to develop. This is not a true contending team. This is a team that's working to build up the young players. I want Kyle Williams and Drake Maye out there together quite a bit. The other thing about the wide receiver room that we should talk about, Terry McLaurin has requested a trade. And he wants out of Washington. Now, it may just be a leverage play to get a new contract. He said all along he wants to stay there, and it makes less than 0 cents for the Commanders to trade him. You look at the rest of their room behind him, you could argue their top 2 receivers. Their top 2 receivers might be an old, overweight Deebo Samuel, no offense, but like, am I wrong?
It's a fact.
And their number 2 wide receiver might be KJ Osborne, who was the number 2 wide receiver here last year, and how did that go?
Respect Jalen Lane.
I forgot they have Jalen Lane. All right, he's a rookie. Like you don't know.
He's a 4th-round rookie, I know.
You know, you're probably going to have to send a wide receiver back. I look at that one because it's all, you look at, you know, what's the value been set? What's the precedent? And I think there's 3 trades you look at. You look at the DK Metcalf trade this offseason. You look at Stephon Diggs getting traded from Buffalo to Houston last year. And then the reported trade of Brandon Ayuk here. Now, if you remember, that didn't ultimately go down because Ayuk couldn't agree with the Patriots on a contract, but the Niners had accepted a deal that was reported to be a 2nd, a 4th in Kendrick Bourne. So McLaurin's a little older than some of those guys, but he's had more production than some of those guys. All of them, I don't think Diggs might have needed a new contract. I don't remember what the deal was there, but Metcalf
Didn't
and...
they rework it so then he would be a free agent after the year? They like cut years off.
Metcalf and Ayuk obviously both needed new contracts at the time. You know, if you tell me it's a 2nd, a 4th, like next year, a future day 3 pick, and then you're probably throwing in a receiver, I'm doing that. Like, ideally, the receiver you throw in is Kayshon Boutte or Kendrick Bourne or maybe one of the 2 guys from last year, Jalen Polk or Javon Baker. I would imagine the Commanders would ask for Pop Douglas. I would really try to avoid doing that. I would throw on an extra pick before having to do that. Push comes to shove, though, I might be convinced maybe if they're going to send another pick back.
You got any thoughts on the conversation?
I mean, I don't know about the trade going back, but if they can get Terry McLaurin, I would be all for it.
Well, but you can. It's easy to say that, but like, where do you draw line? Like 1st-round pick?
No, I would not do it
I'm out there too.
I think ideally it is, you know, Polk, Bourne, one of those guys who you project slightly off, but you talk about the Commanders' wide receiver room, like they could maybe be pushing for snaps.
Kendrick Bourne's in base 11 there,
especially
Kendrick Bourne's absolutely in base 11,
and then a second-round pick and maybe the fourth or one of those later picks. But I'd be all for it. But I just still come back to this is probably a leverage play. And, you talk about, Brandon Ayuk and T. Higgins and, Deebo Samuel a couple of years ago, all these guys, this seems to be how this goes. Like, you want a new contract, you put the request in, and then you ultimately sign back. Because it doesn't make any sense for Washington to trade this
DK
guy.
Metcalf, though, Taylor.
I will say, if they do, if things break down and it's just something that they can't figure out, I do think the Patriots make a lot of sense. They're out of the conference. The Commanders don't play the Patriots this year. Terry McLaurin would be going to another young quarterback who excels with the deep ball, and an offensive coordinator in Josh McDaniels who's got history. Like, this isn't last year where they could not, for the life of them, you mentioned Brandon Ayuk. Yeah. He didn't want to come here. It was pretty obvious that he was just using the Patriots as leverage, and it got to the point where Ellie Wolf was like, you know what, I see what's happening here. We're just going to bow out. This isn't actually going to happen. So if things do break down, I think it's something that would make sense for both sides. But like you said, it's tough. Not a lot of these teams are trying to get rid of their good receivers. No. Especially when you have a young quarterback who's on a rookie deal, which I don't know why this deal hasn't gotten done already. I guess the age. But
you know what? The Patriots have the money. Mm-hmm. He'll be here next week. They're here for joint practices. Just pop over to sideline.
If Ellie Wolf's on the phone or if he's chatting with Adam Peters.
Here's the thing with me where this one's different. If what's blocking it is the age, he's not getting younger, and that's you can't budge off that. So if he wants 30 per, I wouldn't do it long term. 3
front loaded deal.
They're usually come in at like 3 years now.
Right, called 3 years, $100 million, 60 guaranteed all over the first 2 years, 65 guaranteed all over the first 2 years.
I think it's fair.
I would do that. It's about right. And the other thing is, we say, all right, these things never happen because it just seems like they won't. Along those lines, anybody was nuts for saying that Micah Parsons was going to get traded. You were ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
Might be the best non-quarterback in the league. Not only does he want to get traded, that was a powerful statement he put out today.
Yeah.
I don't know. So to your point about you put out the request as a leverage play.
This one feels different.
That's not you don't trash talk the owner as a leverage play. You trash talk the owner when you're a good player who they won't trade and you're trying to blow your way out of town. That being said, I don't even know what the comp is for Micah Parsons. He would probably be the best player to be traded in the NFL in some time, especially when you consider his age. He's entering his age 26 season. The guy is an elite pass rusher, still has multiple years ahead of him of playing at a high level. I don't even want to use Deshaun Watson obviously went for a ton. That was a mess. And also he's a quarterback, and the allegations already come out. Like, that's not apples to apples. Some people have brought up Khalil Mack, who went for 2 firsts. I think he's a better player than Khalil Mack was when he got traded. So let's call it 2 first-round picks plus, right? And that might be, and it's not a light plus. We're not talking about throwing in a 6th. Mm-hmm. We're talking about throwing in a 2nd or a 3rd, maybe Keon White, right? Player for player. I'm not going to say, do you want Micah Parsons on the Patriots? Because the answer to that is yes.
Everybody other than the Cowboys apparently want Micah Parsons.
Would you be willing to do what it takes? Should the Patriots be willing to part with what they would need to part with, which would be franchise changing, organization changing, to get Micah Parsons here at this stage in their rebuild?
It's tough. I don't like the idea of 2 first-round picks. Because, what if this is a bad season, they have another top 10 pick, and there's an elite edge rusher staring them right in the face? I feel really silly saying that I wouldn't want Micah Parsons. But again, it's the compensation. 2 first-round picks, like you said, can completely change your franchise. That's a number 1 receiver. If Will Campbell, for whatever reason, has to kick inside, that's a franchise left tackle or an edge rusher. And again, Micah Parsons plays a premium position. So in most cases, I feel like I would be open to it, but he has battled some injury. I think he's also a unique personality. Maybe if it was somebody who was going to come in and he completely changes the culture, I might feel slightly differently. But again, 2 first-round picks.
Jerry
just
Jones over here.
Yeah, really. Doing Jerry's bidding. Brian, you in?
It's tough to say no to Micah Parsons, but I'm kind of in the same boat where it feels like a move next offseason, right, where if you go 9-8 or 10-7 and you're building some momentum, and then, okay, let's put that cherry on top, then let's go mortgage 2 first-round picks for Micah Parsons. But I feel like where they're at in their rebuild right now, there's still a lot of questions where we're optimistic. We could expect them to be pushing and playing meaningful games in December, like pushing for a wild card spot. But an injury or two, which we just talked about, or some questions on the offensive line, like they could be that 6-7 win team and still picking top 10, top 12, and giving that draft pick up and then another first-round pick, that's tough.
Look, ultimately, if you think he's going to elevate them that much, who has a better roster, the Patriots or the Cowboys? You shouldn't have to think about that.
Cowboys.
Yeah.
Cowboys.
How much postseason success have they had on the back of Micah Parsons?
Not a lot.
Like,
that's one thing I was kind of thinking about.
Yeah.
It's like the defense is not what we're worried about this year.
Right.
It's the offense.
It's just too much to give up this far away, and it's going to be multiple firsts, because even if people say, well, maybe you can get away with a first and a second, because it would in theory be a high second, some contender is going to give 2 firsts. Honestly, for me, the no-brainer, and who knows, because this organization's a little notoriously cheap, but maybe Trags can talk more about this on the Jungle Roar podcast, which is also CLNS, right? Jungle Roar? Yeah? If I'm the Bengals and I'm at wit's end with Trey Hendrickson because he's older and I don't want to pay an older guy, Trey Hendrickson, a first and a second for Micah Parsons. The Bengals get to pay a guy that's younger. They already have that money put aside. The Cowboys get somebody who doesn't hate their guts and will cost less to pay. And their Jerry's quip about Parsons missing time, which he really hasn't. It was kind of just last year. Besides that, he's always played. Hendrickson's a battle tank. Like, that guy goes out there. So if you're the Patriots, like, the Patriots don't have a way to top a first, a second, and Trey Hendrickson. They can't top that deal unless they're going to get ridiculous, and I just don't think they're at a stage where they can get ridiculous. So that's the trade talk. Real quick here before we wrap it up, because we got to be close to an hour, right? I didn't think this was going to go.
It's only 9:30. No,
oh, that's not too bad. 25 minutes, really? We're flying through. Good job, guys. That's why 3 people. It goes a little quicker. Yeah. Stretch has got to give us some points. That was one of the check boxes. Efficiency for the offense. Next week, so Patriots will be off tomorrow and Sunday. Back at practice on Monday. Monday and Tuesday. Joint practice on Wednesday. Preseason game on Friday. Between now and the next time we talk, which will be probably, it won't be Wednesday after joint practices. I won't be here. We'll probably do one on Thursday. I'll be here for the joint practices. I'm doing Felger and Maz after, so I can't stick around. Shameless plug. What are you looking for most between now and the next time we talk, Brian?
Well, we'll get to see the Drake May bounce back. Right now he bounces back from a 2-interception practice.
It's kind of been the theme of camp for him, is the bounce back.
Exactly, but I'm still looking at the offensive line. And unfortunately, the Commanders' pass rush isn't all that great. Yeah. We talked about that in our NFL preview. Dietrich Wise. Their best pass rusher might be Frankie Louvu, who's an off-ball linebacker. So
don't they have Von Miller now?
Oh, they did. Well, I mean,
or whatever's left of Von Miller.
The ghost of Von Miller.
So it won't be the biggest test maybe, and like they're not going against Micah Parsons or a bunch of these elite edge rushers. But
well, who knows how nuts Jerry's going to get in the next 5 days.
Terry McLaurin for Micah Parsons. Who says no all of a sudden? But watching them against other competition, finally watching them in real game action in the preseason. We should have full pads and some situational work on Monday. So, that 2-minute, which backs to Drake May, where he did the interception. So the offensive line still has my main focus.
Taylor.
I think I will focus on Drake May. I'd like to see the accuracy shored up. I'd like to see him continue to make pretty good decisions. Again, the one at the end, I would like to get film or get someone's interpretation on whether he should have pulled it or not, but we've really rarely seen him make bad throws. It's really just been it's errant, it's either uncatchable, or like we saw today, it contributed to a turnover. So I just want to see him kind of steady out a bit and then have that translate against the Commanders' defense. It's not that great. I feel like this is one where, even though this offense is still kind of building, I think this will be a pretty good test that's not too tough, like the Eagles' defensive line versus the Patriots' offensive line last year.
Nice. The Drake May bounce back is obviously a thing. Will Campbell, too. He had that rough practice the other day. He got beat once bad today by Truman Jones.
Dietrich Wise, let's see what he can do.
I mean, that's like, look, Dietrich Wise isn't Micah Parsons, but the one thing about Dietrich Wise that stands out, long arms, big hands. He is impressively built in that sense. So, it'll be interesting to see kind of how Will Campbell handles him, how Drake May bounces back. And I want to continue to see Diggs. Mm-hmm. He's looked really good so far, but against other competition that's really going to be coming after him, he's a big name. If you're not that it's not the case for the corners on the Patriots, but we hear all the time, these guys, you don't want to get your teammates hurt, right? So you're maybe leaving a little bit in the back pocket. Not that the Commanders are going to come here and try to hurt Patriots players. That's not what I'm saying. They're not the Panthers.
No Panthers.
They're not the Panthers.
Yeah.
Who's that safety? Who's not in the league anymore? That was insane. But anyway, the point being, like, if you're battling for a spot in the Commander secondary, what better way to get noticed than big-time reps against Stephon Diggs, right? That's true. He's going to be the guy, just like in games. He's going to have the target on his back. First time he's going to have that coming back from that injury. I want to see how he looks.
And even the top of their cornerback depth chart, Lattimore, Sanders still, like there's some talent there.
Those are good matchups.
Line.
Oh, my God, I forgot about Marshawn Lattimore. That's right.
Some good matchups for all those Patriots receivers.
Well, if Pats had gotten Mike Evans, we could have had some real fun. But no, it'll be Diggs, which will be fun to watch. It'll all be fun to watch. We'll have more coverage. Brian and I We'll have Patriots Beat back on Monday. I don't know, Taylor, if you and Mike have anything over the weekend.
TBD.
TBD, man, Patriots
Stay
make a move.
tuned.
Terry McLaurin, we'll see. But you can get all of it, obviously, on the Patriots Press Pass YouTube channel, CLNSmedia.com. Brian has more on PatsPulpit.com. I have more on 98.5thesportshub.com. So you can check that all out there. Until the next one, great job behind the camera, guys. Until the next one, I'm Alex Barth for Taylor Kyles and Brian Hines. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.